You want to know what really gets under a narcissist's skin? What really tortures them in the deepest, most unsettling way? It's not yelling. It's not cussing them out. It's not begging them to change. That's what they expect. That's what they feed off. A narcissist lives off of attention any kind. Positive, negative, doesn't matter. If you're mad, you're giving them energy. If you're sad, they feel powerful. If you're chasing after them trying to fix what they broke, they feel important. That's the game. They cheat on you, betray you, lie to your face, and then act like you did something wrong. And when you react, they win. But here's the secret. The most effective way to torture a narcissist is to not play. Flip the script. Reclaim your power. Because the moment you stop feeding their ego, the moment you pull your energy back, they crumble. They may not show it right away. Narcissists are great actors, but believe me, when you stop reacting, stop explaining, stop defending, and just disconnect, it messes with their entire sense of self. They don't know how to handle silence. Your silence screams louder than your words ever could. See, when you go silent, you're telling them you're not worth a response. You're telling them you no longer have access to my energy. And for someone who lives off being the center of attention, that silence, it's deafening. It's devastating. Because a narcissist's worst nightmare isn't you yelling at them, it's you realizing you don't need them. Now listen, I know how hard it is. You've been through the lies, the gaslighting, the manipulative games. One day they make you feel like you're everything. The next they act like you're nothing. It's a cycle designed to break you down, so you'll keep coming back, hoping for the version of them you fell for. But that version, that was never real. That was bait. That was the performance. And now that you've seen the truth, it's time to stop playing their game and flip the whole thing. Don't argue with them. Don't explain why you're walking away. You don't need to hand them a breakup speech or try to make them understand. They won't. They don't want to. They thrive in confusion. They want you spinning. They want you emotional because then they still feel like they have control. But once you realize that control is an illusion and you opt out, that's when everything shifts. You take the wheel back and they feel it. Oh, they feel it deep. You don't even have to do anything dramatic. You don't have to throw all their stuff out the window or post some cryptic story on Instagram. That's still attention. That still says you matter. But when you move in silence, when you just disappear from their emotional radar, when you stop texting back, stop checking in, stop showing any signs that they still hold weight in your world, that's when they spiral. Because now they're not just losing you, they're losing their ability to control you. And let me break it down for you. A narcissist doesn't just want your love, they want your dependence. They want you to believe that without them, you're not enough. That's how they keep you stuck. That's how they keep you loyal while they're out doing dirt behind your back. And when you finally wake up and say, nah, I'm done, they panic even if they act like they don't. Because now they're losing supply. They're losing that guaranteed source of admiration, affection, and emotional chaos that fuels them. And they know deep down they don't deserve another second of your energy. So the real revenge, it's not destruction. It's elevation. It's refusing to react. It's walking away with your head high, your heart healing, and your silence cutting deeper than any insult ever could. It's the quiet confidence of someone who's been through the fire and came out gold. That's what tortures them. Knowing they lost access to something valuable. Knowing they can't manipulate you anymore. You know, when you finally see them clearly and don't want them back, and don't think for a second they won't try to come back. They will. Oh, they always do. They might pop up with a "Hey stranger" text. They might show up pretending they've changed, acting sweet, acting like they miss you. Don't fall for it. That's just the bait all over again. They don't miss you. They miss the power they had over you. And when they realize that power's gone, that you're no longer impressed, no longer available, no longer affected, that's what drives them crazy. That's how you torture them without ever raising your voice. That's how you win. So if he cheated, if he lied, if he manipulated, if he tried to break you, don't waste your energy plotting some messy revenge. That's beneath you. Just cut him off. Cold, quiet, clean. Don't explain. Don't negotiate. Just exit. Your peace is power. And nothing tortures a narcissist more than watching you take that power back and walk away like they never mattered. The moment you stop reacting is the moment they start unraveling. Let's keep building that same confident, unshakable energy. Here's a 1,000-word expansion of key point 2, keeping it real, powerful, and smooth as if it's being delivered. Live in a no-nonsense, crowd-moving style. There's something real satisfying about a glow-up, but not the fake kind, not the revenge body you starve for, not the force on fine selfies you post hoping he'll see. I'm talking about the deep glow-up, the kind that comes from the inside out, the kind that can't be faked. Because here's the truth. The only thing more painful to a narcissist than being ignored is watching you evolve into the best version of yourself without them. They wanted to break you. That was the goal. That's always the goal with people like that. They manipulate, lie, cheat, and then they expect you to stay stuck in the pain. They want to see you curled up, questioning your worth. They want you doubting yourself so bad you'll take them back just to feel whole again. But the moment you decide, nope, I'm not shrinking for you anymore, something shifts. That's when the glow up starts. And let me tell you something, it doesn't start with makeup or gym pics or new clothes. It starts when you stop blaming yourself for the way they treated you. It starts when you stop trying to fix someone who broke you on purpose. That's when you reclaim your reflection. That's when you look in the mirror and say, I'm done carrying someone else's dysfunction as my identity. That's when you rise. The real glow up isn't about looking good, it's about feeling good. It's about waking up and realizing I don't need closure, I don't need revenge, and I definitely don't need him to see my worth. I see it, because once you lock in on that self-worth, once you start feeding yourself instead of feeding their ego, you become untouchable. You become unreachable. And that's the kind of transformation a narcissist can't handle. And I'll tell you why, because they built their whole identity on being your center, your emotional sun. They controlled when you felt good and when you felt worthless. So when you glow up and start finding joy outside of them, when you start laughing again, working on yourself, surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, it chips away at the image they had of themselves as irreplaceable. Now, here's where it gets even better. You don't just glow up, you go ghost. Not in a dramatic, disappear off the planet kind of way. I mean, you stop broadcasting your pain. You stop posting subtle messages hoping they'll get it. You stop trying to make them miss you. Because once you truly start leveling up, you won't care whether they're watching or not. The transformation stops being about them. It becomes about you healing, growing, living. And that shift in focus, that silence, that's what burns. See, narcissists think you'll always come back. They think no matter what they do, you'll be sitting there waiting for them to realize your worth. But when you go quiet, when you disappear from their life with no explanation, no final text, no warning, they don't know how to handle it. They start spiraling. They start stalking. They start sending those weak "have you been" messages. Because now you're not feeding the illusion anymore. You're not the same person who begged for love. You've upgraded, you've evolved. And they're still stuck in the same toxic loop, wondering how they lost control. So let me make this clear. You don't glow up for him. You glow up for you. You glow up because your life deserves color again. Because your joy is your own. And the minute you stop trying to prove your worth to someone who couldn't even value their own, everything changes. Your mindset changes, your walk changes, the way you talk to yourself changes. And when that inner light turns back on, the outside follows. You start eating better, thinking clearer, moving with intention. People notice. He notices. But now you don't care. You stop answering calls. You stop looking back. You don't need closure. You don't need validation. And most of all, you don't need to show up just so he sees what he lost. Because your life's not a stage for his regret. You're not a performance. You're not an audience to his apology tour. You're a whole force. And the fact that he's not there to experience the best version of you, that's his punishment. That's the torture. Because here's what narcissists never expect. They never expect you to heal. They expect you to be bitter. They expect you to turn cold, hard, angry. That's predictable. That's easy for them to dismiss. What they can't handle is you becoming soft again, but not weak. You become soft for yourself. You become gentle with your own heart. You start loving people who don't make you question your value every 5 minutes. And that level of peace, it's louder than any argument you could have had. It's the kind of revenge that doesn't require chaos. Let him scroll through your photos. Let him hear about your wins through other people. Let him ask mutual friends, has she moved on, while pretending he doesn't care. Let him sit in the silence you left behind, because when you glow up, then go ghost, you don't just disappear from his life. You disappear from the version of yourself that ever thought you needed him to feel whole. You don't chase. You don't explain. You just rise quietly, beautifully, unapologetically. And that kind of glow, he'll never recover from it. You want to know what really cuts a narcissist deeper than anything else? It's not screaming. It's not telling them off in a dramatic, tear-filled scene. It's not posting petty quotes or throwing shade online. Those are emotional responses, and narcissists love emotional responses. They don't care if you love them or hate them, as long as you feel something about them. As long as they still have access to your emotions, they feel like they still own space in your mind. But when you hit them with pure ice-cold indifference, that's when they start losing it. Because indifference says, you no longer matter. Indifference says, I'm not angry, I'm not hurt, I'm not obsessed. I just don't care. And for someone who feeds off control, off attention, off emotional reactions, there's nothing more painful than realizing they've become irrelevant to you. That's not just rejection, that's erasure. And let me tell you something, nothing tortures a narcissist more than realizing they no longer have the power to affect your emotions. See, the game they play is subtle. They want you to stay emotionally tied to them even after they hurt you, even after they cheat, even after they betray your trust. That's why they'll go quiet and then pop back up weeks later, acting like nothing happened. That's why they'll watch your stories, like your posts, maybe even send a "you good" text just to see if you'll bite, because as long as you respond, they win. Even if you're mad, even if you curse them out, it means they still own your emotional attention. But when you stop reacting, when you stop acknowledging them entirely, it breaks that bond they've worked so hard to keep alive. You've got to understand something: narcissists don't do well with being ignored. Their ego needs to be fed constantly. They need to feel important. They need to feel missed. So when you decide without warning that you're done when you don't chase, don't reply, don't explain, don't even throw shade at messes with their entire sense of self. They start questioning their own power. They start spiraling, because if they can't get you to react, then maybe they're not as charming or untouchable as they thought. And here's the thing: they don't expect that from you. They expect you to beg. They expect you to fight. They expect you to try and make sense of their chaos. But when you do the one thing they never prepared for, when you go silent, not out of pain, but out of peace, they can't handle it. Because silence from a place of power, that's the loudest thing you can give them. And trust me, it echoes in their mind way longer than any argument ever could. They start thinking about you when they least expect it. In quiet moments, late at night, driving alone. They'll check your page to see if you're sad, if you're angry, if you're throwing subliminals. But when they find nothing, that absence becomes their torture. Your peace becomes the punishment. Because now they're not just losing you, they're losing the ability to disrupt your world. And once you stop being bothered, once your emotions are no longer available to them, that's when they realize they truly lost. You don't have to make a scene. You don't have to announce your exit. Just stop showing up. Stop explaining yourself. You owe them nothing. You gave your energy, your love, your loyalty, and they threw it away like it meant nothing. So now you give them what they earned: nothing. Not a text, not a glance, not a thought they can feel. Just stillness, peace, distance, and a version of you they can no longer touch. It doesn't mean you stop caring overnight. Healing takes time. You're going to feel it if you're going to go through the waves. But the key is, don't let them see that. Don't let them feel like they still have access to your heart, even from a distance. Let your healing be quiet. Let your transformation be sacred. You don't need to prove anything to them. This isn't about revenge. It's about liberation. This is about finally understanding that your silence is sacred, that your peace is priceless, that your emotions are no longer available for someone who treats your love like it's disposable. You've got to be brave enough to disconnect, not just from the person, but from the idea of who you thought they were. You've got to mourn the illusion, because that's what it was: an illusion. They were never who they pretended to be. That love they gave in the beginning, it wasn't real. It was bait, a setup, a mask they wore until they knew you were emotionally invested. And once they had you hooked, they flipped it. The charm faded, the control began. So now your indifference isn't just silence, it's clarity. It's you finally seeing the truth and choosing peace over potential. And here's what's wild: once you really lock into that indifference, they'll start chasing. They'll try to get back in, not because they love you, but because they hate losing control. And if you give in, the cycle starts over. But if you stand firm, if you stay silent, if you keep walking like their absence is irrelevant, that's when you become untouchable. That's when you become their obsession and their regret. So don't fight for attention. I don't beg for closure. Don't try to prove you're good without them. Be good without them. Quietly, calmly, consistently, because once you stop reacting, they start unraveling. You ever notice how narcissists are addicted to being the center of attention? I'm talking about really addicted. They live for the applause, the compliments, the spotlight. They want the validation, the admiration, the praise, and if they can't get it directly from you, they'll go looking for it somewhere else. That's usually where the cheating starts. They're not chasing love, they're chasing ego strokes. So when you cut them off and they no longer have access to your admiration, your attention, your emotional investment, they feel that loss. But when you start living well, living loud, and living fully without them, that's when they really feel the burn. There's something about watching someone you thought you broke thrive, and not just survive, not just limp through the pain, but actually look happier, healthier, more alive than when they were with you. That's the kind of glow a narcissist can't handle, because it proves they never had the power they thought they did. And when you start flexing your soft life, your peace, your elevation publicly, confidently, unapologetically, it becomes a mirror to their failure. It reflects back to them everything they weren't, everything they pretended to be, everything you are that they tried to dim. So go ahead and lie, loudly, softly, elegantly, boldly, whatever that looks like for you. Take the trip, post a smile, get dressed for you, level up your circle, invest in your healing, You don't do it to make them jealous. You do it because you finally remembered who the hell you are. And if they happen to see it, even better. That's the consequence of playing with someone who would have loved them right. Because let me tell you something narcissists hate when you move on and look like you've moved on. It messes with their entire narrative. They were counting on you to fall apart. They were betting on you to shrink, to cry, to chase. They wanted you to post sad quotes, go on emotional rants, sit in your pain so they could watch from a distance and feel important. But when you flip it and start glowing, when your energy shifts and it's clear you're not just pretending you're really at peace, that's a different kind of punishment. See, when they cheated, they weren't expecting you to bounce back like this. They thought you'd break. They thought you'd fold. They thought you'd sit in that betrayal and let it define you. But you didn't. You leveled up. And now, every time they see you smiling, laughing, achieving, loving yourself, they get hit with the reality that they lost something real. And what's even worse for them, the world sees it too. The same world they wanted to impress is now watching you shine. And no, it's not about pretending to be happy just to prove a point. It's about choosing to reclaim your joy. You get to reclaim the parts of yourself they tried to distort. You get to show up as your whole self again, not the watered down, confused version they manipulated. When you were with them, you were doubting your worth, questioning your instincts, carrying emotional weight that didn't belong to you. But now, you're free, and freedom looks good on you. They'll try to convince themselves it's all fake. They'll say, she's just doing that for attention, or he's just trying to make me jealous. That's what their ego needs to believe. Because the truth that you're genuinely better without them, that truth is too heavy for them to carry. That truth reminds them that they never had the kind of impact they thought they did. That they weren't the reason for your light, they were actually the shadow trying to block it. And you know what else hits hard? When you start getting the kind of love they never gave you from people who see your worth immediately, not conditionally. People who don't play games with your heart. People who respect your boundaries, communicate clearly, love consistently. That's when it sinks in for them. That's when they realize you were the prize, and now they're on the outside, watching someone else unwrap what they fumbled. So let them watch. Let them sit in silence while your life keeps expanding. They'll check your page. They'll ask mutual friends about you. They'll overanalyze every little thing you post. And that's fine, because you're not posting for them, you're just living. And the fact that your life is still rich, still full, still joyful without them is a kind of poetic justice you couldn't script if you tried. You're not hiding. You're not shrinking. You're not staying quiet to make anyone comfortable. And that bothers people who were used to you making yourself small. That bothers the ones who underestimated your bounce back. But that's not your problem. Your job now is to keep choosing yourself every single day, with every decision, with every step forward, and you don't have to explain it. You don't have to defend your peace. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you're happy again, especially not someone who threw you into the fire and expected you to stay burned. You walked through it. You healed through it. And now the flame, it's behind you. You carry the warmth, not the wound. So smile, laugh, love again when you're ready. Take the pictures, book the flights, build the life. Don't dim it for the people who tried to break you. Let them sit in the background while your peace, your power, and your presence tell the whole story. Because the soft life isn't just luxury and leisure. It's knowing that you don't have to fight for your place in anyone's life. It's knowing that your peace is protected, your love is sacred, and your glow is yours. You know what really unravels a narcissist? When you stop needing them to validate your worth. When you stop handing them your power like it's a gift they're entitled to. See, narcissists operate in cycles. They come in with the charm. They build you up just high enough so that when they tear you down, it hits harder. It's a strategy: gain control by being everything you want, then slowly start making you question if you even deserve it. And after they cheat, after they lie, after they twist the truth in knots and throw blame your way, they still expect you to sit there waiting for them. They expect you to keep that door cracked just in case they feel like coming back. But what they don't expect is for you to change the locks permanently. That's when the dynamic flips. That's when the power shifts, because when a narcissist cheats, they're not just breaking your heart, they're testing your limits. They want to know how far they can go and still be accepted. But when you walk away, and I mean truly walk away, and then go build something that doesn't include them at all, they feel it in places they don't admit out loud. It's not just that you left, it's that you stopped circling their orbit. You stopped waiting for them to become the version of themselves they pretended to be. You stopped performing for their approval, and you chose your sanity instead. There's a whole different level of power in no longer needing to be chosen by someone who was never capable of choosing you fully in the first place. Because let's be real, the narcissist never chose you in a healthy way. They chose you because of what you gave. Your light, your attention, your softness. They didn't see you as a partner. They saw you as a source. And the second you turned off the supply, they started to panic. They may not show it right away. They'll pretend they're unbothered. They might post some new supply, throw photos up like they've upgraded, but it's all surface. Because deep down, they know they lost access to something real and they know it's their fault. What drives them crazy is not just that you're gone, it's that you never look back. That you don't reach out to argue, that you don't fight to stay, that you don't ask them to explain the lies or the gaslighting or the betrayal. You just remove yourself from the mess and clean your piece off like it's a crown that was collecting dust. And suddenly they're not the center anymore. Suddenly they're irrelevant to your future. That's not just rejection to them, it's humiliation, because here's the part they never tell you. Narcissists need someone to reflect their value back to them. They don't have it internally. They survive on external validation. So when you were in their life, constantly trying to make things work, constantly trying to love them into being better, you were feeding that need. Even your pain, even your tears, those were fuel, proof that they still mattered. So when that faucet turns off, when you no longer cry, no longer care, no longer check their page or stalk their stories or ask mutual friends what they're up to, that's when it sinks in. You weren't just another option. You were the main one. And now you've gone silent, not out of hurt, but out of healing. And when you start building after that, when you start making money moves, hitting new goals, building new connections, laughing again from the belly, not the surface, it shakes them. Because narcissists can't stand to see someone they thought they broke becoming unbreakable. That's not part of their script. In their mind, you're supposed to stay wounded. You're supposed to be haunted by what they did, but you're not. You're moving differently now. You've upgraded your mind, your habits, your vision. You stopped waiting for an apology that was never going to be sincere and started writing your own closure instead. And you didn't just move on, you moved up. You raised your standards. You stopped entertaining situations that don't feed your soul. You stopped chasing potential and started choosing peace. You got tired of begging to be seen by someone who only looked at you when they needed something. And now you're living in such alignment with your worth that you don't even recognize the person who once accepted crumbs. So let them see it. Let them see the life they don't get to touch. Let them watch you evolve into everything they tried to keep you from becoming. And if they try to come back, don't just shut the door, seal it. Not because you hate them, not because you're bitter, but because you love yourself too much to ever go backwards again. You know what you bring to the table now. You know what your presence means. You know what kind of love you're capable of giving and what kind you'll never settle for again. You don't need closure. You don't need revenge. You don't need them to finally say you were right. Because your success, your growth, your peace, that is the validation. And it's not just about material success. It's about waking up and not feeling anxious anymore. It's about not checking your phone, wondering if they'll call. It's about sitting in your own presence and actually enjoying who you are again. That kind of healing is powerful. That kind of energy is magnetic, and that kind of transformation, it's the ultimate consequence for someone who thought you'd never walk away. Because the truth is, you were never weak. You were just loyal. You weren't naive, you were hopeful. And now that the hope is gone, what's left is a version of you that knows better. A version of you that walks in truth, not fantasy. A version of you that doesn't wait to be chosen because you already chose yourself. And that's the kind of freedom no narcissist can stand. You want to know what really breaks a narcissist down to their core. It's when you make it absolutely clear without yelling, without drama, without even needing to say it, that you've healed to the point where they can't even access you anymore. That's not just a rejection of who they were to you. That's a full-on revocation of their power. Because to a narcissist, it's not just about having you around. It's about knowing they can still get to you, even if they're not physically there. But when you become unreachable, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that's when the game is over. Not because you beat them at it, but because you stop playing entirely. Narcissists are addicted to control. It's not always loud or aggressive. It's often subtle, calculated. They manipulate with guilt. They twist reality so that you question your memory, your instincts, your truth. And then they act like they're the victim when you try to hold them accountable. But here's the part they never see coming. One day the fog lifts. One day you stop questioning yourself and start questioning them. One day you realize that what you called love was really a carefully designed performance meant to keep you small, dependent, and off balance. And when you reach that realization, something powerful happens. You begin detaching. That detachment doesn't look like slamming doors or emotional outbursts. It's quiet. It's steady. It's deliberate. It's you reclaiming your mind, your identity. And when you do that consistently enough, something inside you clicks. You're no longer trying to get closure because you've already found clarity. You're not waiting for an apology because the truth has become enough. You're not hoping they'll change because you've already decided you don't need to stay stuck in a cycle that only drains you. And that's the part that messes them up because they built their power on the assumption that you'd never get there. When you become untouchable, it doesn't mean you're heartless. It doesn't mean you never cared. It means you cared deeply and that care was taken for granted one too many times. It means you gave your all and they gave you breadcrumbs, confusion, and betrayal in return. But instead of becoming bitter, you became wiser. Instead of seeking revenge, you sought healing. And that healing changed your frequency. You're not vibrating on the same level you were when they had access to you. Now, even if they tried to come back, they couldn't reach you, not because you're hiding, but because they no longer meet the requirements. They'll feel that distance. Believe me, they'll test it. They'll try to provoke a response just to see if they still matter to you. They'll drop a message, watch a story, maybe even fake an apology, not because they've grown, but because your silence is too loud. Your absence is too real. And what hurts them most is not just that you're gone, it's that your world didn't collapse when they left. It expanded. You didn't shrink. You evolved. You didn't stay broken. You rebuilt. And the version of you that exists now, they never had access to her. They never knew him. That person is new, stronger, sharper, boundaried, and that makes them feel powerless. There's nothing more painful to a narcissist than realizing they no longer have access to what they took for granted. Because when they cheated, when they lied, when they manipulated, they were banking on the idea that you'd always be available in some way. Maybe not physically, but emotionally, energetically, spiritually, subterraneously. They wanted to leave you confused enough to always wonder what if. But when you stop wondering, when you stop looking back, when you stop letting their shadow darken your light, that's when the chains break. And let's be clear, healing isn't instant. It's not always clean. Some days you'll miss the potential more than the person. Some days the memories will lie to you and make you question if things were really that bad. But that's part of the detox. That's your mind trying to make sense of what your soul already knows. Keep going anyway, because every time you choose yourself, you rewrite the story. Every time you enforce your boundaries, you reinforce your worth. Every time you don't respond to the bait, you reclaim another piece of your power. And one day you wake up and you realize you're good, not pretending to be actually good. You laugh more. You breathe easier. Your mind is quieter. Your spirit feels safer. And that's when you know you've truly become untouchable. Because it's not about blocking someone on social media. It's about becoming so deeply grounded in who you are that their energy can't reach you, even if they tried. They can't manipulate you anymore because you see through the mask. They can't guilt you because you've made peace with walking away. They can't bait you into old arguments because you're too busy creating a new life. And if they show up with flowers and apologies trying to play the redemption arc, you'll smile not because you're tempted, but because you've outgrown the version of yourself who would have believed it. You don't need to scream. You don't need to flex. And you definitely don't need to prove anything. Your peace is loud enough. Your glow is undeniable. Your silence is eloquent. And to someone who thought they'd always be able to shake your world, nothing is more destructive than finding out they no longer have access not just to your time, but to your spirit. That's the real revenge, not bitterness, not getting even, just elevation, pure unapologetic elevation. And once you get there, stay there.